everybody. Welcome to another Teen Book Club. My name is Kelsey. I'm the Teen Librarian.
I'm Swaneet. I'm just a reference assistant.
Don't say just a reference assistant. Swaneet is a valuable member of our team. So, for our November book club book, we are doing Sanctuary by Karen Licks. This is a sci-fi book. It is part of a series. It's the first book in a series. She just came out with the third book a few months ago, so you can come and check all those out here at the library. And we're really excited to talk about this one, and I am actually going to be letting Swaneet take most of the discussion over. And Swaneet, do you know what it's a good day for?
No.
It's a good day to talk about critical philosophical prison theory.
Yeah, let's talk about critical theory.
Oh, well, wait, we should talk about first why we're going to talk about. We should explain what this book is about.
What it's about. Okay, so it is about this teenager, Kenzie. She's in space. She is a teen prison guard for a juvenile prison. Her parents are in, their guards and all that. They're in the system.
Yeah, so I guess I don't know if we should say that because is she promoted yet to a guard?
Yeah, she's like a guard in training when we meet her.
Yeah. So her mom is like way high up in this
Commander.
system. Yeah, and she is like one of the head corporation prison people, and this prison is owned privately by a company. And it houses teens that are considered dangerous because they have these abilities. They're high-risk, dangerous teens, and they're all isolated on this like very high-security prison, which is like a giant prison spaceship.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
I hope it does. And I think it's important to note also that there's only a few people on board. It's a very small guard. There is a lot of talk about AI and how a lot of the prison is automated. There's a lot of discussion about government and corporation control on Earth, and as well as in space and different planets.
So what happens is that, I mean, we don't want to spoil too much of it, but this is book club, and we talk about like things that happen in the book, so we can. I think it says that there's a breach, there's a security breach at one point, and Kenzie has to become responsible for these teens that are now on the loose, pretty much on this spaceship. She is one of these survivors of the guard crew, and so she in part becomes responsible for, I guess, their safety, would you say, or just keeping them on the spaceship, keeping it contained? Yeah.
She also, because of that breach, she becomes captured by these teens, by the prisoners who have these super abilities, and they really make her question her place and her role within this system.
Yeah, so she really, she's very affected by it because her family, her mom, she thought was going to be there for her and help her in this situation, and nobody comes back for Kenzie. She's on her own.
Abandoned.
So Kenzie starts to question, after getting to know these other teens, if there is a actual reason why they should be in this facility and what the corporation is actually hiding from people. So then, of course, there's aliens. They are very upset with humans for existing, and they want to remedy that with death. So then they have that to deal with. So not only is Kenzie dealing with escaped prisoners and trying to grapple with her own thoughts and feelings about the situation, but then also there are very angry, tiny aliens who are pretty scary, to be honest.
Yeah. And she's got like her parents' separation and stuff, family drama, and that one of her captors is like really cute or something. She mentions it a lot.
We don't care so much about that part.
Yeah, I'm not concerned.
I mean, you might, but
it's fine.
Okay, so we're going to get into it. Swaneet is going to explain to us something that I didn't even pick up on because I pretty much slept through the one philosophy course that I took in college. So she's going to talk to us about a theory that plays directly into Sanctuary. and she's going to explain that. So
okay, so in the beginning chapters of the book, the prison ship is described as microphone shaped, meaning that there's the bubble on top is the command center and where all the guards live, and the cone at the bottom is the prison. And I found this striking because it reminded me of the panopticon theory. So this theory was first put into place by Jeremy Bentham, who described the panopticon as this prison where in the center is the guard tower, and the guard can see everyone.
Tell us who Jeremy Bentham was.
Oh, he was some English philosopher.
Back in the olden timies.
Like 1800s, I want to say. Like a really long time ago. And he really promoted this theory that like it would be a round prison with a security guard in the middle, and all of the prisoners can see the security tower and know that they're being watched, but they can't see each other. So this created a feeling of constant surveillance. Whether they are actually being watched or not, they start to internalize that they are being watched, which leads to a kind of conscious visibility where people then behave in such a way that they behave as if they are being watched the whole time.
Think about how when you're at school or if you have a part-time job and how you just might be hanging out doing your thing, and if your boss walks by, you immediately straighten up, you alter your behavior, you act like you know what you're doing, you pay attention, you work on your stuff. So think of that as if they had security cameras that were watching you all the time and you didn't know if you were constantly being surveilled or not.
Yeah. And it also kind of, the theory also goes on to say that if this is established as a norm, how humans react to that afterwards. You know, how do they behave, and how they go about their lives knowing that they're being watched, or just feeling like they're being watched, even if they aren't. So some of the side effects of this are there's internalization. So instead of just having rules that you follow because you are being watched, you just internalize them. Think about like being at a red light. You don't run it, even if there's nobody around, because you've internalized these rules.
That's true.
That, you know, like even if there are no cameras around, these are rules that you're going to follow anyway. And there's also like the switch from like cruel punishments to rehabilitation, which is what we have now. We don't really see hangings as much. It's really more of like people get sent to prison. There is also, what I found really, really important is that there is a separation of humanity from the person. That because there is this like surveillance, there's less of a human-to-human interaction, and so the humanity is stripped from them. And we see that a lot in the book, where Kenzie at the beginning will describe the prisoners as animals, and Rita even tells her, don't think of them as humans.
Well, the idea that they're being constantly you would feel like a spectacle, like you were there just for somebody to look at.
Yeah.
And if you don't have that human contact, or if you can't even see another human.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
They don't consider each other humans anymore. Yeah. It's all just your numbers within the system. In particular, I wanted to bring up on page 52 how she talks about how her mom only watches omnistellar sanctioned news outlets. And that is another one of the side effects of this kind of surveillance and this panopticon situation. So, you know, pan means all and optic means seeing. So it's like the all-seeing guard. But because it's all-seeing, even the little bits of things that they do become regulated. Like she only watches omnistellar stuff. She only reads the omnistellar books because it has gotten so far into her system. I really think that Sanctuary shows like a post-panoptic society where this has already been integrated into people.
Yeah.
I think the other thing I had...
the idea that, like, her mom, it very much shows you what the kind of bubble that you can get into. Like, I'm only watching this channel and I'm only reading things that are approved by this set of people, and they tell me what to do and what to look at and what to read. So yeah, you have to be careful about the kind of bubbles that you can get yourself into.
And like deferring morality to a different entity. Basically letting a corporation or any other group say this is what's right and wrong, instead of having any kind of like internal judgment for that.
Your own moral compass.
Yeah, your own understanding of it. There was another part on page 131 that I thought was really fascinating, was where Kenzie says, I've never been in prison, and Cage says, haven't you? Because I found it really fascinating that even though there's an obvious prison going on here, Kenzie is really the real prisoner. She has been subject to like everything omnistellar. It has to be exactly this way.
Yeah, I mean, she's in her own sense, she is trapped there with a certain set of people, and they are watched by the corporation, even though they are watching the prisoners. So it's still, I mean, she's isolated there with this one set of people and is there to complete this one job, and that's it. Yeah. And if she messes up, like,
oh well.
Yeah.
She's a number and she can be easily replaced. Yeah. That's another thing that this theory talks about, is when you strip people of humanity, then people are replaceable. You can just keep getting rid of them until you get what you need.
Yeah. And that, I mean, that's a theory, not necessarily a theory, but it's an idea, a theme that comes up a lot in YA science fiction and YA dystopia. Yeah. The idea of governments and corporations stripping away the humanity of its citizens and making them easily replaceable. I mean, you see that with the Hunger Games. You see it with, I mean, Divergent, with all of the big dystopian novels that we have. So I think that this was really, I haven't gotten into the second and third yet.
No, but I want to.
Yeah, this was recommended to me specifically by one of our patrons named Carol. She loves this series.
Carol?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you've ever been to the library, you've probably seen Carol around. But she recommended this book to me a couple years ago, and I picked it up. And she was the first one on the hold list for our final book. So shout out to Carol.
She knows what she's doing.
Exactly.
She knows good books.
So that was Sanctuary. So I want you guys to think about all this stuff when you read through Sanctuary. And if you've already read through it, go back and look at those passages that Swaneet was talking about. I think it's really important to kind of, even though we like to mess around and have fun, we do like to have our critical thinking time and keep our brains fresh.
That is the only way my brain works.
I mean,
it's my default.
In 2020, it's hard to even think about anything.
Yeah.
So, you guys can go ahead and get registered for December's book club. That link should be live now. You can register and make sure you come in and pick up your free copy of the book. I forget which one we're doing specifically, but it's on the website. So we look forward to seeing you guys next time. Bye.